I went for a 2-hour walk to clear my head, but I ended up rewriting my entire life. Before I stepped into this park, I was stuck in a quarter-life crisis I didn't understand. But by the end of this walk, I had found the 2 beliefs that changed my life. This is the story of what happened during that walk. It was the first time in my life that I didn't have the answers. The quarter-life crisis had hit me hard for 2 years by this point. I wasn't happy with my salary, I wasn't happy with my parents, I wasn't happy that I was single, and I was wrestling with my faith in God. At this moment, I didn't know what to do. I just felt like it was a good idea to go for a walk, to spend time alone with nature, to spend time alone with God. At first, my mind was kind of blank. No destination, no target, let's just walk and see how I feel. Then this happened. Some older folk walked past, and pretty quickly too. At first, I tried to keep up with them, like hey, I'm in my 20s, I should be able to keep up, right? But after a while, I decided to slow down, and then the questions began. What am I racing against? What am I trying to prove, and to whom? Is this not my own journey to take? What have I been living for? And honestly, even though I asked all these questions, I knew that some questions didn't need an answer. I had learned during those 2 years to be okay with that, to sit with the silence. And then a reply came. For purpose. I had been living for my purpose, or what I believed to be my purpose and dream at the time. But why? A sense of significance maybe? Or joy? Probably not joy, since I established earlier that I wasn't feeling particularly happy in this season. But if it doesn't result in joy, then what's the point? Is the pursuit of purpose then meaningless? And so the internal dialogue continues. I don't know who's talking. Is it one part of my mind with another? Is it between my heart and my brain? Is it between me and God? I don't know, but the process is what's important. What about comfort? Do I not naturally lean towards the pursuit of comfort? In binge watching TV shows or playing games, am I then living for comfort? But what's the point of comfort? The greatest things in life were never achieved through comfort, but struggle. I myself pushed through discomfort when I traveled to refugee camps for work, or when I started church and volunteer programs, or when I walked down to the park bench at night and talked to lonely strangers. And in doing so, I have felt alive, like a certain sense that I was born for this. You see, growth comes from discomfort and a lack of contentment, while comfort holds us back from who we can really become, and who we can become makes us feel alive. But even then, in the grand scheme of things, comfort, growth, contentment, the pursuit of them is pretty meaningless as well. As I walked and pondered, I felt no peace, no clarity, no real answers. Just ramblings in my head that all kept going to the same conclusion: meaningless, meaningless, a chasing after the wind. The very words echoed by King Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, and somehow, in the midst of this helplessness in my mind, I thought to myself, well, if the wisest man in the world couldn't find an appropriate answer to his questions, then what about me? Isn't it better to surrender the question than to despair for an answer? King Solomon actually concluded that book by basically saying, trust God and do as he says. And funnily enough, that's the answer that I arrived at as well. I thought about Jesus' sacrifice on the cross, the single indisputable act of love that God orchestrated since the beginning of time, and he did that without any of my input way before I believed in him. So if I was written into that part of his story, then isn't the rest of my life also written out with the same good intentions? With that belief, I can surrender my need for an answer. I don't have to worry about who I am, or who I will become, or what I should do in the future, because I can trust that a good God has written my story. The only appropriate response to that is to live in gratitude and honor because I get to live out his story. But what does that look like? So remember I said earlier that I felt alive at times from doing things outside my comfort zone? For as you explore, you get to find out more about yourself, what you like, what you dislike, and what makes you feel alive.
And that's the 2 core beliefs that ended my quarter-life crisis. 1, to trust God that He has written my story. and 2, to do things that make me feel alive.
After that walk at the park in 2021, my general hope and joy came back. I felt drawn back to worshipping and reading the Bible. I started getting new ideas and was more excited at work. And I did things that make me feel alive. I even did a bungee jump at the end of that year. Not sure if I ever do that again. The next year, when COVID restrictions eased up, I went for my first ever long solo trip to the US and even did skydiving there. So it's been 5 years since that eventful walk, and I'm so glad that I went through it because it has shaped my adulthood. In fact, it's with those core beliefs that I was able to step out of my first job and to start this new phase of life as the Purpose Finder guy. But I want to hear from you. Where are you at in your journey? If anything in this video resonated with you, please drop me a comment below and tell me your story. I'll love to hear it. And if you're currently in the middle of a quarter life crisis, don't worry, you're not alone. I've developed some resources that I wish that I had when I was going through the quarter life crisis myself. You can check them out on my website, the link is in the description below. And finally, if you want an in-depth explanation of the quarter life crisis and practical strategies on how to overcome it, you can check out this next video over here, and I'll see you in the next video.